Welcome to another episode of Parallel Synchronized Awesomeness. Today we're going to review Halloween Ends. Halloween Ends is the last in the trilogy of new Halloween movie sequels. So is it any good? No, it's not. Halloween Ends is probably one of the biggest bait and switch movies I've seen in a long time. The marketing for the film would have us believe it's 111 minutes of adrenaline-fueled crazy train Laurie Strode versus Michael's showdown. Except that it isn't. Not even close. What Halloween Ends really is about an hour and a half of a boring and kind of awkward love story, followed by about 15 to 20 minutes of Laurie Strode, Michael Myers throwdown. If you're into that, you'll probably be pretty happy. If you're like me and was expecting the former, not so much. Halloween Ends takes place 4 years after the events of Halloween Kills. It's basically a love story that evolves between Corey, the town outcast, and Allison, Laurie Strode's granddaughter. And this movie is all about the two of them. Corey gets picked on and harassed throughout the beginning of the film, and through one of these events comes into contact with Allison, and they form a bond. At first, things are good and normal, but then Corey comes across Michael at one point, and from there he begins to act increasingly off the rails. Allison just seems to kind of go along with him for some reason I can't really figure out. I'm not sure if this is trauma induced from the previous film's experiences, or her creep alarm was just broken. All the while, Laurie and Michael are basically sidelined for most of the film. One weird thing I don't get about Laurie Strode is that she spent 4 years training to become super badass on just the off chance that Michael might escape and come after her. But after he, spoilers, kills her daughter in the end of Halloween Kills, she just resolves herself to living a normal everyday life. Given what she did for the prior 40 years, I'd have thought maybe she would have hired some sort of Special Forces commando badass to train her and hunt down Michael. But okay. Michael, on the other hand, is all banged up from his previous encounter in Halloween Kills. So he's portrayed as weak, hurt, and he can still get some killing done when he needs to, though. He mainly just hides in a sewer for most of the film, so Corey is able to beat him up at one point in the film and steal his mask in order to go on his own killing rampage. Yeah, you heard that right. Michael Myers, the guy who took on an entire slew of townsfolk at the end of Halloween Kills, despite being shot and beaten, is taken down by a wormy, meek boy who recently found some backbone, and is able to steal his mask. Okay. Now, to be fair, I do realize the sequels ignore all the other movies in the franchise, which means Michael isn't meant to be some unstoppable killing machine. He's just meant to be a mental patient with a high pain tolerance, but ultimately, he is meant to be human. I still don't buy that shit. Alright, now the throwdown scene. Is it worth it? Is there so much awesome that it's worth slogging through the entirety of the boring lovey stuff? Meh, not really. It's just kind of there, and given the rest of the movie, feels a bit tacked on. Really, this movie feels like two different movies that they just kind of mashed together. Like they wrote the ending first and then didn't really know what the hell to do with the rest of the film. My other theory is that it sort of kind of mirrors the original 3 movies in the franchise. Going back in history, if you recall, the first 2 movies were about Myers and Strode. Then the studio wanted to convert it into a franchise about random horror stories that kind of just happen on or around Halloween. So the 3rd movie was about a Halloween mask company with nefarious plans for children. Ultimately, that fell flat, and the studio just brought Myers back to the center of the show. The rest, as they say, is history. It feels like they could have been going for the same sort of thing here. Sideline Myers, let Corey take over and cause some terror. Then at some point it was like someone working on the film just came to their senses and was like, wait, that didn't work the last time, and it's probably not going to work this time either. Yeah, I don't think it would have worked this time either. Just saying. Let's move on to the acting. The acting in this movie is actually good. We have Jamie Lee Curtis, who always crushes as Laurie Strode, Andy Matichak as her granddaughter Allison, who does a fair job. As I said, the only part of her character I couldn't really figure out is whether she was dealing with the trauma from the events of the previous films, and that's why she makes some odd choices, or if she really was that into Rowan Campbell's Corey Cunningham. Corey does a great job portraying the awkward town outcast turned psycho killer, but it just isn't enough to save the movie. In summary, this movie is just, well, it's just boring for a Halloween movie that is probably one of the worst things you can say. The acting is great, but ultimately can't save this snooze fest from its weak plot. If you've seen the other 2, you're probably going to feel obligated to watch this. I assure you that you can skip it and just pretend that the franchise ended at Kills or Halloween 2018, depending on which one you feel gives the best closure for the franchise. I give this movie 2 out of 5 parallels. Alright everyone, that about does it for my Halloween Ends review. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for stopping by, and stay tuned for more reviews coming from yours truly, Mr. Parallel.